Hello everyone, and welcome to my mountain of shame. Today we have Wanderlust, travel stories. So I'm not exactly sure what Wanderlust is, as usual, of course, but it does seem to be a storytelling-based game. So it feels like perhaps this will be like a choose your own adventure, which could be quite interesting. So yay! It was released in 2019 by the developer Different Tales. Now, let's start a new story and see what this game's got for us. Of course, we'll also start a 30-minute timer as soon as whatever introduction it has for us stops. So, yay. There we go. I just to check the menu first. Let's have a look here. So I have played a few choose your own adventure style books on Steam before, like Choice of Robots and stuff. I played 100 Days. That was a nice multi-choice travel thing. But let's find out what this one's going to be like. The travel narrative is the oldest in the world. The story, The Wanderer, tells to folk gathered around the fire as returning from a journey. This is what I saw. And is the origin of a narrative fiction, too. The traveller unveiling... Sorry. Okay, so apparently we start in Easter Island. An island in the middle of nowhere. A small green dot. As opposed to the pale blue dot. In the middle of the Pacific. 6 hours flight to anywhere. But how many Pokemon Go stops does it have? Like, you'd think it would have to have a couple, right? A chance meeting. Imagine you arrive at an island. Imagine you are greeted with a flower necklace. Imagine how impatient you are to see the famous Moai. Imagine you live on the island. Imagine preparing for the next batch of tourists. Imagine how busy you are. With people engaged in their routines, it was no wonder that the ancient stones paid any attention to the weather. The rain came out of nowhere, the curtain of water obscuring the view from the terrace. Alright, so let's say the gameplay is starting up from scratch, so I'm going to start the 30-minute timer. However, we have a choice already. We can choose between either watching the tourists or watching the Moai. Now, because I don't want to say that word anymore, I'm going to watch the tourists. Surprised tourists, swearing, laughing, scanning around the place looking for a place to hide. They forgot about the giant stone henge that made the island famous, and focused on protecting their cameras, phones, wallets, and getting drenched. After the stifling heat of day, the sudden shower was a blessing, and yet they ran. Soon, the last group of tourists found shelter under the awning of a terrace. The bar was a popular place. The view was beautiful, and the beer was cold and expensive. As always, the tourists looked the same. If you listened to their accounts, you could try and guess where they came from. Especially when they were as loud and made as much of disturbance as the group under the awning. Listen or watch. Well, I want to know more about this group, so let's listen first of all. I know I could do enough either, but still. In situations like this, you do not wish to eardrop, but you hear. Looks like we'll spend some time over here, someone said in English. We might as well make ourselves comfortable. I heard the chairs and tables being arranged. Oh, sorry. He didn't say that. My mistake. I must confess, I was observing them on purpose. Who are they? That's the question bugging you, isn't it? It's bugging me as well. At the moment, I didn't think I was an honest observer. I was interested in their story. I already knew mine. They were all Europeans, still excited that they were on an island over 2,000 miles away from the nearest continent. At first, I thought it was a group of friends, but no. Their awkward body language revealed that they've met for the first time. So, who are all of you? I was also curious. That's the question, wasn't it? I don't know about you, but I love listening to people, imagining who they are, Trying to get under their skin? Trying to understand is most like me. Trying to understand what makes them tick. What scares that guy? What's that lady longing for? What do they regret? Most of the time, I'm left with my musings. But sometimes, just sometimes, I get a peek behind the curtain, straight into someone's soul. I always pick one person. Making them the protagonist of my imagined stories. When I try to focus on too many people at once, there's no real connection. It all remains superficial, like I could only see inside my head. It was easy this time. One of them got my attention instantly. Was it the grey hair? Was it the eyes? She was all smiles. She came in long before the rain started, ordered beer and some snacks, smiling the whole time. Quickly found herself at the table. She sat down, started tapping on the phone, looking curiously from time to time. I knew the type. The naive one, self-important, smiling too much. She was one of the women who smiled all the time, laughed at every occasion, carefully editing the picture that might swallow out her fun. So the main character is now the woman. Then others came. Later that evening, for a bunch of strangers that got along wrong, well, the rain stopped, giving way to a beautiful sunset. They didn't even notice the drops of water shining on palm trees, small lizards capturing last layers of sun, the dormant volcano in the distance. All that was lost to them. They talked over their beers, joking, laughing, getting to know another. Look at us! 5 is quite the crowd! And on Rapa Nui, no less! The young woman said. Ooh, she's got a very thick voice. I'm so curious about what brought you here. I'm Martine, by the way. I was curious what made them tick. And what would have happened between them? Would they remain strangers? Would they become friends? Would drama ensue? The older lady from Portugal was called Adelina. The father and daughter came from the UK. He was called Henry and her name was Henriette. Martin was from Germany. And the guy was from Poland. Was called Tomek. I listened to Martin. I listened to them, more and more curious if I chose the right person. I just wanted to escape as far away as I could, and who I met? People from Europe? Funny thing is, it happens to me all the time. So she travelled a lot. What's pushing it forward? I'm not sure I liked her. So she travelled a lot. She was young, and yet she seemed to travel a lot. I started imagining all the awkward and funny situations she must have been through. Time would tell what kind of person she really was. They talked about how small Rapa Nui seemed to be from the plane, and how big it was when you walked. Comparing notes on accommodation, all stated Hangaroa, as it was the only town on the island, and they planned their sightseeing. But who are you all? Martine asked. What are your stories? Ooh, I love a good story, but I'm not sure if we've got enough for everyone to tell one. And the others answered, one night won't be enough. Well, are any of you leaving tomorrow? I'm not. Let's spend the next few days together, see the island. I'm sure we can find a guide here and tell each other stories. They all agreed. Let's pick a theme, Martine said, made a dramatic pause. I was all ears and smiled when she asked, what was the journey that changed you most? When she asked, what was the journey that changed you most? I wondered why they assumed that you needed a journey to change. Okay, so next chapter, so that was the first chapter. Makes you wonder how many gaps there are. I guess every story would have been different based on which main character you chose. Okay, so Martine is starting, talking about her essential gap year in Thailand. Interesting. Ooh, 5+ hours. Is there actually gameplay to this? Ooh. Ooh, there is. Okay. White sand, blue ocean. If they hadn't been on a beach, they'd have called the sun merciless. The way things were, though, only one word could do justice to the day. Beautiful. Akana was a classic beach. The most picturesque beach you could imagine. The beach was soft, white sand and coconut palms. The latter were a relatively new arrival from Tahiti. The only thing that indicated you're on Rapa Nui and not one of the thousands of other beaches dotted around the Pacific was Aru Nana, the statues that stood near the beach, faithfully watching the waves roll in. Sorry, I think there might be some... It was a good day for sunbathing, swimming, and doing nothing, and they did just that. Oh, it's just like the islands in Thailand, said Tomek. I went there on my honeymoon. It's the first time in years anyone convinced me to fly. Martine opened one eye and propped herself in her eyebrow elbows. Her colourful towel glowing in the midday sun. Nah, wouldn't say that, she said, a nostalgic smile on her face. I spent a year in Thailand, you know? That was my first big trip. Oh? Adelaide looked at her, interested. I guess it's time for your story then. It was my gap year. Yeah, that trip was pretty essential, Martine sighed. It was my gap year. Okay, so literally this is just a game about sharing stories, apparently. Okay. Southeast Asia. Essential gap year in Thailand. Alright. Oh, I actually have money and fatigue and emotion. Oh good, there's actual gameplay. But she's not dead, so nothing could go too terribly wrong. I got out of the taxi that brought me here from the airport. Everywhere I looked, there were people and stalls. The air smelled of coriander and pad thai, and of Chang beer consumed by tourists, sweet cola and rum, weed, sweat, and excitement. I was on the road, on the Koh San Road. Oh, you want a trip? Good price! Someone said I was standing, just looking at the street in a daze. It was a middle-aged Thai woman in a yellow t-shirt. The name of a travel agency splashed across the front. Thank you, not now, I replied. But she was already showing me photos and taking me to places, talking to me about places to visit. I listened as she bombarded me with attractions. The old city, Newset Palace, historical places, some statues, market after market. You want to go? Trips start now, half price. I looked for an escape route. Ooh, okay. Street grill. Let's go get some meat. I'm sorry, I need to eat something, I said, and went to the nearest food store. Oh, this is interesting. There's a lot of different options here. Meat sizzled over the charcoal, metal grill that looked like a repurposed wire fence. The vendor was in constant motion, impaling the morsels on sticks, flipping them, piling them ready ones on the table with banana leaves, then putting new meat into plastic buckets, filled with the bright orange marinade. The intense smells of the spices, fat, and smoke mixing together was overpowering. Oh, looks delicious. And I couldn't resist the temptation of original street food. I took the pork. I bought the fish. I pointed at the chicken leg. I think out of all that, the fish is probably the safest. I bought the fish. Fish. It looked amusing, like I was swallowing the stick it was served on. The skin was crispy, the meat was white and juicy. The fish bones were mostly harmless. I'd never had a fish on a stick before, but then again, I didn't even know it was a thing. Okay, I mean, it's pretty easy to guess people have probably put fish on sticks before, but okay. Khao San was like a decompression chamber between the east and the west. The ones between were leaving, and the ones who were at the beginning on their journey. A porch on which you could leave your shoes, coat, fur, a fear of bugs, and desire to hurry. Let's look at some clothes, I guess. The clothes store attracted my attention. Hundreds, no thousands of skirts, trousers, scarves, hats, caps, and dresses were all hanging around me, forming long alleys with walls made of garments in all shapes and sizes. I was still wearing European clothes, dream, sweat, so t-shirt. I should get rid of them and wear something local. There are so many possibilities. Keep calm and eat curry t-shirt. Tie-dye top. Yellow tank top. I think the one that seems the least weird is the yellow tank top. Oh, here we go. I was wearing tourist attire. My t-shirt, comfy jeans, sandals. My bag had tourist attire and summer attire. I found the classy yellow fringed tank top. It was comfortable, and the flimsy material was of better quality than the rest. Leaving my shoulders bare would also be perfect for the hot weather until I got burnt and would later regret it greatly. Now, some shorts to complete the attire. I'd be ready for the beach. The pile of clothes were luring me even deeper. Harem pants. I didn't even know what a harem pants is, but apparently it's the other two are shirts, so I'm gonna need to go for the harem pants, aren't I? Less strict his jeans and more practical than a shirt. A hint of exotic look was an added bonus. I closed my bag. I thought the pants go great with the colourful top. I wanted more. Obviously, I'm going to go for the elephant print. Nice cotton shirts with an elephant print. They look comfy, and I wasn't against showing my legs. Okay, I'm noticing that interesting, incomplete hippie attire. That's just how I looked in my new outfit. Was that enough? No. I want the other elephant-related thing. There we go. Smiling content. When I saw it, I appropriately thought that his man in position, any man in my position, his position was fine too. I closed my bag. Couldn't wait to see how I looked in new attire. The sheer amount of clothes to choose from, I was wearing me down. I was starting to lose interest. Okay, so now it's giving me more stress to keep shopping. So I'm going to try on my new clothes. I could wear... Let's go for the summer attire for now. Soon I was ready. I decided to wear shorts, a tank top, flip-flops. I wanted to get a suntan. And cancer. I was back on the Koh San Road, as full as ever with colours, smells, sounds, and people. Okay, so less choice than I was expecting. It's more, you get to go to all of them. I wonder if there's a difference in the order of how much of what you can do. But it looks like at the moment I have to do this. The one last fight. Hey, you're new here, aren't you? The guy spoke with a thick American accent. Oops. And couldn't have been there for himself. Pale, red-headed, he wore shorts, a short t-shirt with a robot on it. I like the print. He looked at me curiously. I could talk for a while. Yeah, I got off the plane about 2 hours ago. You? His name was Max. He arrived here from New York, and I'd been here for a few days. It turned out. We chatted, and I told him about my studies. If I had a euro for every time I've heard, "You can study fashion?" And he told me about his college. So, we exchanged information about Thailand. Why are you here? What can I tell you about my reasons? Max, New York, about feeling lost, about thinking I should know something about my life, but I don't, about my curiosity, about what any of it you can understand. Max in New York. And more importantly, what did I understand? I need to find myself, I told him. After graduation, I found out who I really was. I didn't know who I really was. And who I wanted to be. So I decided to get rid of everything I knew and go on a place as far as possible. I stopped talking when I saw his smile. It was cynical smile, 20-something. Who wanted to appear really smart and mature. I recognized it because sometimes I smiled that way too. What? I asked. And by looking at his question in his eyes, I could tell he was waiting for the question. Have you read The Beach or seen the movie? I say no. I shook my head, so he decided to enlighten me with a rather patronizing expression. The story was about a search for earthly paradise on the beautiful Thai island. It ended with a massacre, and it apparently influenced him greatly. I think the truth about humanity is that we're all cruel, bloodthirsty animals. It's not something I'm particularly eager to install, but Thailand, our made-up paradise, is great for observing how we cover it up. You're cynical, I answered. And to be frank, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. People aren't bad by nature, no matter what your favorite book says about it. I think you just really want to believe in your great Asian journey. He smiled. Oh. I've had enough. I thought he wanted that too. I'm going to go for stress because I'm a lot higher on the fatigue. Just like you, I said. I suppose we have a different great journey in mind, he cocked his head. Hey, want to find out whose dream come true? We exchange numbers, call each other in a month, see what happened. Sure. Round was like a river, it went with the flow, from souvenir booth to pub, from pub to massage parlor, and sometimes from massage parlor to crashing into another person's backpack. Walking down the street, I saw a mime with intricate black and white body paintings standing between the stalls. I took my phone to take out a photo. That's when he moved. He lifted the sign. 1 photo, €1. I got plenty of money. I gave him the money, took a few photos, and went on my way. Because no doubt I'm probably going to get robbed later. Not because I have any against it, but because I think that it does feel like the sort of game where you could accidentally get robbed as a point of storyline. went to one of the stalls that, from afar, looked like sold shells. When I got clear, it turned out they were bugs. Edible bugs. Deep-fried crickets, to be precise. I took my phone to take a photo. The vendor took his head. You want a photo? You need to buy. Why not? Well, the crickets. I didn't want to eat them, I just wanted the photo. After I was taking it, I saw a pair of tourists eating the insects instead of potato chips, clearly loving it. I mean, there shouldn't be anything wrong with it. I was curious, really curious. I took a cricket from the bag. It was the size of a cookie. Holy shit. But definitely wasn't a... It had legs. It was a bug. I ate one. Tastes like potato chips. Mixed with fish food. Crunchy. Awesome. They're okay. Black. Well, obviously gonna go awesome because it's all about attitude. Awesome. Before I realized it, I'd eaten a whole bag of bugs. That was definitely something new. Besides, she seemed to discover something. So, you know, it makes sense that you want to eat the bugs. Next to the trucks with local handmade stalls were stalls with all the specs you can imagine. Shoes, clothes, watches, electronics. Just trying to take a look at it to make you lightheaded. Do I want to go to the pub? I feel like that could waste a bit of time. We're going to keep going down the road. But the question is... I saw her expression as I was blinded by all the lights, sounds, colours and smells. A town girl who must be here for some time now. Calm, manoeuvring through the crowd with ease. The clothes she wore must have been bought in Thailand, but not from any of the stalls that surrounded us. They were natural and probably handmade. On her wrist, a simple wooden bracelet danced as she walked. She was certainly a person who could tell me something about the real Thailand. Back home, I would never just approach a stranger and ask about the experience. Yet, I was not at home. Would you mind a little company? Oh, not at all. You're new here, right? It shows, huh? You just bought new clothes, and I won't lie. There's this characteristic expression. I looked the same when I got here 6 months ago. 6 months? That's a long time. Nah, not too long, but maybe it was enough. She kind of seemed like my type of person, but that's why I asked the question which appeared in my mind the moment I saw her. Have you found what you've been looking for? Oh girl, I found that and more. I wouldn't leave here if I could. Ooh. She told me about her journey. How she came to learn about Buddhism and succeeded. She went down to the biggest Buddhist temple. I wonder what happened if I was wearing the Buddhist outfit. Now she was going back to the Netherlands to try and give her kin in the West what she'd found in the East. She sounded a bit exalted. Sounded amazing. Okay. She sounded a bit exalted, and I told her to. Exalted? Maybe I am. I'm really passionate about Buddhism. But, I mean, I don't really mean anything bad. Maybe it's your Western point of view talking. Maybe you don't understand Thailand yet. Stay here for a while. See it for yourself. She might be right. Maybe that was my problem. Maybe I didn't have my own opinions, and only the ones I learned back home. I asked if she was feeling ashamed when she came here. Oh, absolutely. You're on the right path, I think. Search for answers. Talk to the enlightened. Maybe you'll find some peace that I've found. She finished his drink. But I think I should go now. I have to go back to the airport on time. My girlfriend will kill me when I come back. Namaste, sister. May your path lead you where it needs to. Namaste. She must also visit India. Okay, interesting. I think stress going down, fatigue going down would probably be a good thing right now. And why not? I've been eating every other bit of food. I won't need to worry about food poisoning, because at this point I'm going to be taking the, at this point, I won't even know what's food poisoned me. I stopped a truck where a young Thai girl was selling fresh juice and asked for dragon fruit. Name alone convinced me. It looked like a rose someone had tried turning into a sphere. When I bit into it, I saw it was white on the inside, small seeds, maybe think poppy seeds. Yeah, I never liked dragon fruit. It was sweet and sour at the same time. It quenched my thirst. Yeah, so far I've spent $600 just walking down the road. Oh dear. I hope that the, Alright, it's high time to get a little information about the city. I chose one of the travel agencies that smothered both sides of the road. Filled with photos, posters, and of course tourists. There was a middle-aged Thai man before the counter. His English was good, he didn't even ask me how he could help. He just flooded me with a wave and wave after flyers, folders, maps, information about shopping, temples, cuisine, parties, everything. I could have wandered in Bangkok, it's literally inside my reach. Looking at the colourful advertisements, I felt like my choice was making a declaration and telling the man what I really want to experience in his country. Cuisine! Clearly, I've eaten 3 things already. I'm going for all the food. Food was my top priority. I wanted the customs, the people, and I wanted to eat it all. Looking at the people in my mind, I imagined all new tastes, smells, experiences that could awaken my senses if I would just eat food! Now I have to find a place to leave my things. And maybe some sleep. I took care of that before, though. Back in Berlin by looking up possible accommodation online. There are 2 places that seemed interesting. First was a hotel that demanded guests were well behaved and respect Thai tradition. Second was a hostel. Well, clearly I'm going to go to the respectable hotel because you're trying to become immersed in the culture, you're trying to get food, and you're trying to be safe. So I stopped for a second when I entered the foyer. The overwhelming variety of colours, smells, and sounds city street. After the chaos in the almost strange city, it's like entering another world. The checkerboard flooring, cherry gold-coloured striped walls, and mosaic of red gold tiles over the entrance. Pure, elegant Art Deco in the middle of Bangkok. I liked it. The cold beauty of this place was soothing, and I went to the counter. Next to a stern Thai woman in white blouse. There was a huge sign that said, "No sex tourists." Oh dear. Welcome. Have you read our policies and principles? The woman asked before I knelt open my mouth. I knew they wanted guests to be respectful. As was written in every folder on their website. We need guests to know our policy. We won't tolerate drugs or smoking anywhere in the premises. Sex tourists are not welcome. No acts of offensive local culture allowed. We don't allow visitors in rooms. If you want to meet with someone, you can do so in our restaurant or our garden. Guests don't respect our rules. We don't discuss. We don't try to be polite. We just show them the door. She looked at me with a hard expression. It's a respectable hotel, she added, noticing my bared legs and shoulders. Is that clear? I was like a 1% fan. She nodded no, but it was great. Saw my name. That wasn't too much. Count the required amount and put a fat wad of banknotes. Sign my name. The Narcos joins the prestigious club. I want to learn more. I was curious about the hotel. What are the rules? And are most of the tourists problematic in Thailand? I'm afraid sometimes they are. We're very happy there's so many people interested in Thailand. But we're not happy that many are coming to exploit it. About respect. As if land was their playground. It isn't anymore. And we expect people to remain that. You go for ashamed only because I don't want her to get angry. Anyway, I didn't come here with that something else in mind. I was part of people who didn't respect Thailand or Thais. I was getting granted for being sex tourists from entering the hotel. Oh, we don't talk about that here, she cried curtly. Can I help you with anything else? What can I do here? We have a pool. The oldest hotel pools in Bangkok. There's a restaurant with a wide menu of dishes, both European and Thai. We have a wide range of vegetarian meals if you're interested. You can rest in our garden, but be wary of our animals. We're a shelter of short. There are cats, turtles, and dogs there. That sounds great. So what if I came here with a cat? Oh, it's not allowed to bring in animals. We already have enough of them. Wondering why this hotel looks so European. My founder was from Germany and his wife was Thai. We need to keep the values we want to cultivate from here. Interesting casual cultures. Time wouldn't be the same without Europeans. We won't deny your influence. It's part of our culture, but now we think it's us that should decide. And what we want to do with that part, don't you think? The smile was warm and polite, but the challenging stare was all ice. At least I'm still optimistic. I went to my room and quietly, respectfully as I managed. The tiniest room ever. After an overwhelming foyer, the room was pleasantly peaceful. Pastel walls, bed, closet, and a big enough window through which I could see the garden. I think I'm gonna rest. Lower my fatigue a little bit. So a lot of sightseeing is next plan, so I cleaned my teeth and went to sleep. Okay, day 2 in a respectable hotel. Oh, what? What? My fatigue went up? What? High fatigue? Oh, is what? I thought that the fatigue meter being high was a good thing. Oh no, am I just really stressed and really fatigued, or am I just optimistic and peaceful? I don't know. At this point, I'm starting to think that is my... Oh, I need to pay more attention. I put a pillow under my head. I staggered out of bed. So that lowers my fatigue. But I still know if fatigue is good or bad now. Let's stagger out of bed. This is high fatigue, but I didn't have high fatigue before. I take a few squats to get my blood flowing. After the shower, I went down for breakfast. They only had continental meals in the morning menu. So I took coffee, croissant, and jam. It's time to start my day. I remember Ply had taken the previous day from the travel agency, so I could start cooking about course. Okay, so shopping, river trip, cooking course. More options. Oh, cool. Wait, more options. Okay, no, I guess that's still pretty cool. Let's go to cooking course though, because I want her to live her dream in search of bodily pleasures. I'd heard a lot about Thai cuisine. I tasted so little of it. What I tasted was great. My body liked it. I felt light and calm after eating local food. The perfect choice to get to know better. After all, the body was important and the soul wants to discover itself. Or so they said. I could start by buying a cookbook, asking some fellow tourists about cooking courses, or just finding a course by myself. There were flyers, signs all over the place. I looked at the adverts. After some time searching adverts, I found some courses I could try. Okay. Home cooking, flower marking, cooking in the slums. Cooking in the slums sounds interesting, but like also kind of dark. Let's go for flower marking cooking because I need to lower my fatigue. We met in a flower market where we were soon greeted by 2 Thais who told us that the ingredients are the most important part of cooking. So we started to make something. We would go shopping. The bazaar was huge, and while we were there were a lot of flowers there. It was more stuff full of people, but no one paid much attention to this ironic poetry. Everyone was too busy buying or selling. Besides the produce, we also bought flowers to decorate our meals with. Learning how to make flower festoons was part of the course. They told us that usually in Thailand you would fly flowers for a temple offering or for ghosts. See, that increases my fatigue, and that increases my stress. I have much more strength in stress, but oh god, I'm sad now. Oh no! The overpowering mixture of scents in the halls is too much. The sweet, heavy smells of orchard, candelas, and roses all tangled together, almost choking me. Then we finally decided to buy food, and the sensory overload just numbed me. I barely noticed the texture of the peppers, or the weight of the coconuts, and the smell of the sweet basil. The pumpkin was bland to me. I'd have enough. When we finally got to the kitchen, I just expressed some kitchen toast to make one. I think the hot soup is probably the best way to calm you down. It was a good recipe. I don't know what galgal is, but okay. Galgal bowl, which provided with ginger, cut into thin slices. I missed my finger by a few millimeters and made a mental note to be more careful. Used some lemon slice. It was firm and sleek. I peeled it, as expected. I chopped it, then crushed it with pieces, handled my knife. Tomato. Tomato, finally, something I'm familiar with. Lots of vegetables, spices, and gifts. Go cutting and peeling took some time. I did it carefully. Since the time fat between the head and the hot corpus make the taste of the dish. After that, it was just normal cooking, except that I never thought I'd add milk or lime juice to chicken broth. Finally, the soup was ready. When teacher tasted my soup, they smiled. Great, you have talent for this, they said. When it was all over, I tried to judge my experience. That's of course well fed, because otherwise I'm going to go crazy. Okay, I'm no longer sad at least, so that's beneficial. But I don't know how sleeping in that hotel made me so fatigued. Alright, we go back to the hotel, which apparently increases my fatigue further. Oh dear. Now I'm sad again! Too tired to walk back to my hotel. I decided to try public transport. There's no hurry, so stopping for a bite or taking pictures was definitely part of the plan. Suddenly struck me how strange everything around me was, how different was my old daily experiences. Most part, the people around me was daily life. But in my life, I'd say thousands of miles away. I was tired. Back in Berlin, I'd just go home, settle in front of the computer, and spend the night watching my favorite tea and chips. I have to deal with my fatigue, so I'm going to try this and hope it goes down. I was just being stupid. I was missing my boring evenings, even though I was in the middle of this vibrant city I've been in. I took a breath and looked at the wonders around me. Braved on. Maybe I'd buy a beer and chips on the way. In the foyer, an elderly German gentleman was arguing in a hushed voice with the receptionist. I lingered long enough to see him exhort in the hotel. I was back home. I went to sleep because, damn. Let's hope you actually sleep better today. Can you actually sleep better tonight, please? Past the walls, window, and a bed. My closet hasn't changed. I needed to rest, which didn't work before, but it should this time. Yeah, there's much to see. Finally, I slept. Hey, can you please... Oh, thank you. Thank you. Finally. Woke up, had some breakfast, went out to the streets in Bangkok. Had to decide what I had to do. I changed. The hippie attire, I guess. Soon I was ready. There were loose, colourful clothes and sandals. Handmade, organic clothes. No logos, nothing corporate. Alright, so we can go to the temple. Shopping. River trip. Sightseeing around the hotel. My stress is pretty high. I feel like a river trip is the most likely to help that, and probably the best option out there. Yeah, the river that suited me. All travel guides said that boarding the boat on the Chao River was the best way to see Bangkok during rush hours. So I went to the pier and waited. I needed the boat going south. The Grand Palace, temples, and then further. The modern part of Bangkok, with skyscrapers and business. Waiting for the boat, I watched the river as a group of laughing tourists sitting in their backpacks near me. I smiled, thinking about my friends. I should write them some postcards. Maybe send some photos. No, let's not be stressful here. I won't accidentally risk dropping my phone into water. After a while, the boat came. It was white and orange with an orange banner. It stopped almost every pier. So, let's board the slow one, it's fine. The water was cooled the air around us. Seen from the river, Bangkok looked uninhabited. The water making it odorless and quiet. An architecture patchwork of secular and sacred tradition. Of modernity, of poverty, and of luxury. It was so peaceful and beautiful they couldn't help but smile. The girls were waiting at the same stop as me when I entered the boat and spoke English. Judging by their accent, they were probably American. Let's just focus on lowering my stress. There are crowds everywhere. Old people, their varied clothing, their chatter, a mixture of perfumes, spices, the food, so many stimuli. Like the way Thai girls were dressed. They mixed their shawls, wrapping them around their waists over rock band t-shirts. I didn't know they'd want to look, so they didn't want to miss anything. I didn't know where to look, so I didn't miss anything. Oh, so I can actually... the boat stopped at the next pier. I was told the amulet market was near the way. Amulet market. Nah, let's stay on board for now. Keep lowering the stress. That was the whole point of this whole trip. The varied and brightly coloured landscapes was changing the view like a spin kaleidoscope. Sky, water, piers, hotels, temples, wooden huts, glass-covered skyscrapers. The sun was hot and merciless. In its heat, everything was more intense. Someone has increased the saturation of the world. We stopped near the Marajari Mall. It didn't look like a typical mall at all. A flock of bright modern buildings marched on the store. Temple of Dawn, Wataram, that tower looked like a corn cob. I wondered how much of Bangkok was a spectacle performance just for me, a tourist, a Farang. We're on the pier near the old city, near the old temple. Wait, what happens to stay aboard still? Wait, where's the next place to go? The Chinatown Historical District? Yeah, I kind of want to see what happens if I just stay on board for longer. Like, I know I'm giving up a lot of options here, but like, that shows there's a lot of options. I could have gone down any of those ways. I could have taken any of those trips. Me and the river, different boats, varying sizes and shapes, past us. Motorboats, shopping boats, loaded fruits, even sleek-looking luxury hotel boats. People were boarding and leaving the boat, but I had no intention of moving my space. I leaned over the water, left the cooling wind soothe my face as I watched the piers. From the boats, I get to see the SkyTrain, an aerial railway from across the water to air, traditional and high-tech, unusual contrasts. We passed the enormous memorial bridge. The roof, historical buildings towered across the city. I felt like everyone around me knew that I just got here. I tried looking different, but I couldn't hide the awe-filled expression in my eyes. For me, the cities that had a river were livelier. They had a pulse, a personality, a story to tell. From the deck, I could see the roofs of Chinatown. Well, I was going to, but now since you said I'm not getting off, I'm going to keep you going. If you want this, it's fine. I was thirsty all the time. I didn't want to take photos. My camera wouldn't capture the atmosphere of the city well enough. But maybe I could draw. I watched passing piers, the wind soothing my face. The river was the lifeblood of the city. I tried to draw a spectacular view from around me, but the boat was rocking too much to keep my hand steady. Water run was sculpted with many details on the surface. It looked like the scale-covered hide of great lizard. Crowds, noises, smells. There were too many stimuli. Alright, well I guess I've got no choices now. But we're heading north. I can go back! No. No, north! Let's go back! Let's boat this whole time round! Which roads are passing by? There's so many of them. I shall never stop boating! Wonder how many different city bunker was for inhabitants. On the boat you get to see the Saitama railway. Yes. We've talked about this before. So I think maybe my idea of going up the river was not a great idea. I mean, clearly she hasn't had enough of this river yet, so. Might go to the malls. That sounds interesting. I wonder if you could have went either way, like by default. Anyway, I think I'm going to actually go to the mall. At the moment, she's just like, ah, yes. It's a good point. You're doing pretty terribly on your journey for food at the moment. Like, on the one hand, I feel like going back up the river was more stressful than just staying on. Because it was meant to go back down again, but it was a lie. Okay, I get it. You've been on the river for too long. Let's get out then. Hi 10. In Bangkok, temples are everywhere. Numerous buildings. I first arrived at Wat Po, known as Temple of Kind Buddha. The walls and ceilings were covered in wonderful illustrations, colourful flowers, castles and geometric patterns. Stared in awe at the huge golden statue lying on its side, a huge head propped up by a tree trunk arm. I felt like an ant looking at a shining giant. Around the temple, I went to the other side of the road where was a Buddhist monastery. Walking down the path and contemplating, well, everything, I was quite a young monk who was immensely immersed in his book. I'm sorry! At first he looked scared, but I remembered that Buddhist monks in Thailand forbidden from touching women in any way. But we didn't touch. After the initial startle, he relaxed. Meditation during walking is good for you. I like it too. But sometimes it can be dangerous. He was around my age. It looked as though he'd figured it all out. Orange robes, bald head, meaning of life, just part of daily routines. And there was I, carefully selected clothes, a practical yet attractive haircut, and full of energy, meeting my own. It seems so. Have you had a massage yet? I looked at him. Startled, he was trying to sell me something. A monk? Of all these temples? No? Why? That would probably help the stress situation. Thai medicine started here even before the temple was built. Body and soul. We live side by side, monks and massages. I thought I should go there and try a massage. Following the monk's directions, I went to a local massage stall. I decided how big the room was, and at the same time how people were being massaged. So I'd go for Thai for an hour, foot massage, or a facial massage. Interesting. So, the facial is the most expensive, but I feel like she'd be most likely to go for the Thai massage. Because it's something different. The plan was instead to go through yoga-like movements, the assistance of a therapist. I took my place in the paddle mat, and soon one of the local specialists took care of me. I hadn't had a massage before. It was awesome. This is some empowering, in close, trusting, tactile contact with another human being. When we were going through the movements, the masseuse applied rhythmic pressure to my muscles, and I was quickly a putty to our professional hands. Lost track of time. When the massage ended, I couldn't help but be slightly disappointed. I was gonna say, don't put up my stress for having a massage! I'm glad it went down. On my way out, I met the same monk who showed me the place. He smiled at me, but he said, the mind is a painter, and it's well of paintings. He left before I had a chance to ask him what he meant. He was so full of sightseeing. Let's go back. Yeah, let's go to the malls. Oh, good. Yeah, this is where I wanted to go before you said you were sick of the boat. You know, moments before you said you loved it. In Marae, the mall just near the riverbank. The opportunities of temples. Was everything in Bangkok surrounded by temples? Or inside? The mall's architecture was pleasing and different. Several low pavilions, covered with roofs that looked like a sail. The small flyer I took at the entrance said it was built to defy the tradition architecture of shopping centres. It was different. It was meant to be part of the landscape, focusing on the experience of the visitors, not the shopping. And actually, I didn't see many shops here. Instead, I found a wide selection of cafes, restaurants. There's also a garden, a promenade over the river, massage parlors, even places to practice yoga, and Tai Chi in the main food court. It is only Thai cuisine. Look like a slice of paradise. A commercial one, but still a slice of paradise. Need more stress off. I was in a hurry, so I sat on the roof with you I sailed on earlier. I watched the colourful cloud around the promenade, sparkling ribbon of the river, and the picturesque temples on the horizon. The air was hot and humid, smelling sometimes sweet and sometimes rotten, of exhaustion and of spices. The sun shone down its still embarrassing pale arms. Oh, what? You could have had food, but okay. Instead, just y'all giving me a choice. Fair enough. It was get to the metro, and I surrounded with huge buildings, waiting for my money. I felt like arrived on a different planet. I know, I think that other mall more, but okay. It had 8 floors, 8, and nearly every one of them was full of shops. They said over 2,000. Clothes, accessories, handbag, luggage, furniture, cell phones, electronics. Every shop was advertising some kind of discount promotion. Nothing made sense. There were labyrinths of clothing next to the juice store and further toy shop. It's like one of the Bangkok markets, enclosed and building a mall. For so many little things, it felt like heaven. So much to turn by. That's a shame. I'm gonna buy, so let's buy stuff. I found a lovely dress. I grabbed a cartload of clothes. Party attire incomplete. Oh dear. A lovely dress. Formal attire. Snake bracelet. Wait, that didn't give me anything. I doubt that will give me anything either. Let's buy everything! I have formal attire now. Fantastic. Now, I should change before I go back to the hotel. So I feel like they will appreciate the formal attire as opposed to my summer attire. Alright, by now I'd had enough. Alright. It was late, so I went back home. I was gonna say. Alright. Sunset. I thought it was a great occasion to see Bangkok night. Above my head, power lines crisscrossed around giant spider's web, tangled web. Like it had grown organically, rather than something that was planned and engineered. There were so many people on the streets, every single person so different and colourful. Young tourists in shorts and barely fair halter tops. Old ladies in skirts and patterned blouses. Young women in smart jackets and silk shawls. Psychedelic themed hippies with dreadlocks and piercings. Seasoned travellers in practice linen clothing. And me in elegant dress and elegant sandals. Did people see me? How did I want to be seen? I want to take back and consider it. I want to blend in. I found a swap between the young Thais, who had adopted Western culture, and the Westerners fascinated by local textiles and fashion. I couldn't hide the fact that I was Fadang, but I didn't want to flaunt it. As I was walking along the empty, padded corridors of my hotel room, a cat crossed me. Its black cat coat shone in the light, and it looked at me with yellow eyes, stared back. The door opened farther down the corridor, and the cat bolted, disappearing as if it had never been there. See what happens. Stay and chill instead. Let's go see the hotel for once, since I'm actually wearing the proper attire. Not to mention you haven't eaten anything, and I said your goal was to eat. Red Queen would like this place. I looked around me. Besides me, there was only one person here, an older white lady, writing something passionately on her laptop. She looks busy, so I'm gonna go and just eat. Food is good. The lady was totally immersed in her writing, but as my chair scraped for the floor, she lifted her gaze and looked at me. It was an inviting gesture. Okay, fine. I took a seat next to her. There was a bottle of wine on the table, half full. Apparently French wine was respectful enough. Crazy laptop lady? What's your name, young lady? And more importantly, what's your story? I'm a collector of stories, on connoisseur of them, of course, and a creator. Her French was as well pronounced as her English and had a heavy accent. I'm Martin, I come from Germany. Are you a writer? An educated guess. Genevieve shook my offered hand. I was born in France. I now mostly travel. I'm a writer, of course, and my books take me all over the world. I pride myself in my research, but since I'm writing a book set in Thailand, well, I think it's pretty obvious why she chose this hotel. Why this hotel? She replied with a story of words explanations. Well, I understood it was because the hotel was absolutely unique. They didn't want it to be like all the other hotels. They opposed the reality of this I pay so I demand. They protected their identity. I respected that. Of course, she explained. The hotel was gorgeous, slightly quirky, but they had writing rooms, peace and quiet, a library, everything a writer could dream of, and the guests were usually unique and interesting people. And if you want to see something more, Thai, well, you can always go to the city. A fashion student, you should absolutely see the ladyboys. They're gorgeous. And the beaches? Oh, I always envy you, my child. She held up a finger, asking me to wait a moment. And something quickly. They returned attention to me with apology. I've never met a proper writer in person. I went to some readings, but, you know, spoke with one in a restaurant. What are your books about? I write romance, she answered, busily inflating with pride. I wrote The Abyss of Desire, The Jealous Swamps, The Lost of Desert Lust, and Under the Sky of Bliss. Have you read any of them? I hadn't. I lied. No, I'm sorry. She frowned. She quickly asked she had been translated to German. She asked to be translated to German, and her expression changed to one of surprised relief. Oh my god, why would they? French is the language of love. You do know French, yes? In English, everyone said the fashion student could learn language, but I couldn't learn it. That's a pity, she said, her voice losing some of its warmth. I should get back to work. Probably in the writing room. Something you want me. Au revoir. She drained her glass and took her laptop in her hand. She was left to the bottom of the line. Obviously, I wasn't interesting enough for her. That's fine. Soon the waitress came. Oh, thank you. I can finally order food. Well, clearly I'm here for... I didn't want to eat. Yeah, that's never going to happen. I said time menu. The dishes just told me nothing, so I picked at random. Fair enough. She's not of approval. It was a soup, smoky chicken broth. It was hot and sour. I fished out a crisp pork leg, char-grilled shallots, some unidentified seeds and some roasted tomatoes. I tasted carefully. It was delicious. Local cuisine was one of the reasons I changed to come to Thailand. It was kind of getting late, so I decided to go back to my room and sleep. Lying in bed, I thought about what I should do next day. Actually, it's time to leave. Because that could be the end of our video. It's only the first part of this game, but I think you get the point. Essentially, it is a choose your own adventure. It is just like a book. You get to read. Be interested to know what the difference is actually made. My assumption is that all the people that we were met with on the starting area, they all have their own story. And we just chose this lady just by pure chance. So yeah, no, it's interesting. Interesting, especially in this current climate of, well, I guess travel is going to start opening up again at some point, but at the moment it's pretty hard to go places you want to go. Is this an alternative? I don't know. Probably not, but it's still nice to have stories. So anyway, guys, this has been Wanderlust. If you liked what you saw here, feel free to pick it up at the link in the description below. Otherwise, thank you for joining me on my Mountain of Shame. I'll see you when I pull out my next title. And, well, we'll wait to see what that is, shall we? Goodbye, and good day.